Hi, good morning. This is Carl with Assisted Living Facility Rookie. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, Carl?
I am blessed and happy to be here with you today, Miss Mary. For those of you that haven't met you or heard of you before, can you give us a little introduction about yourself?
Sure. My name is Mary Gilcrease. I'm a retired cardiac intensive care nurse. I went and figured it out today. I have been in the assisted living arena in the state of Texas for 30 years this year.
Wow. Wow.
Yes. So I've owned 18 small facilities around the state. I've been consulting for about 20 years, and I've been teaching the required course for about 17 years.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So, what's it called? Cardiac ICU. Wow. What was this here in Houston?
No, I actually didn't practice that. It was in Louisiana and Missouri and Oklahoma.
Wow. Wow. Um, in terms of like medical background, we are just ramping up on another business venture to visit assisted living facilities as a primary care provider this month. So hopefully we get that going and licensing is done by December. But yeah, we're excited. I'm a
Wow,
nurse practitioner. Sorry, that's what I meant to say.
good. So the main thing, that I think we've all been really focusing on, other than the oversaturation of the market in Texas, which is the big conversation
Mm.
every day. The next part is all the RN delegation and all the medication rules and that have changed, and the policies and rules that are coming down the pipeline on medications and RN delegation.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was I was excited to save money on because I was like, oh, I can just do it myself. But after talking to like Nate and like really talking to someone else regarding like, hey, your liabilities, it's not worth it. So just
Yeah, Nate has another RN that he has
yes.
actually on payroll. So
I was like, oh wow, I didn't think about it like that. I was just so excited to save like, $150 or something. I was like, okay, but that didn't work out. So, in terms of, the assisted living facility puzzle, you're definitely one of the people that, I always tell people to reach out to before they start this venture because there's a lot to it. Um, and as a consultant, you know all the rules and regulations that need to happen. Like,
mhm.
how did you get into it though? Like you said 20 years ago, what
30.
30? How did you get into this 30 years ago and what was your first facility like? Like how did that happen?
That's interesting because what happened was I was working for a home health company in Houston, Texas,
Okay.
and I went to do a supervisory visit, and it was in a small facility. And I walked around and I was like, what is this? How did this happen? I was so surprised. It was a brand new cottage industry, and I had not heard of it.
Mm.
And the owner came in. His name actually is Hassan Barmada. And funny situation, I'm actually having lunch with him and Skip Matthews today, two of the biggest players in the game when it first got started. Um, he came in and toured me around and showed me everything. And then we went and had drinks at a restaurant on Richmond in Houston. And on a napkin, I was writing things down. And then he called me a few weeks later and said, how would you like to partner up? I want to expand. And I said, I'm in. And I quit the home health
Wow.
company, and he and I opened 8 homes
Wow.
in
Wow.
Houston.
That's incredible. Like so how so that's your start from Hassan you said?
Hassan, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Like in terms of like your second one, was that like a year later or how far along was that?
No, we did that for, gosh, I want to say maybe 4 years.
Hmm.
maybe 4 years. But then what happened after that was one of my friends who owned a home health company, her boyfriend at the time was a doctor over in the Pasadena area, which is southwest of Houston,
Mhm.
southeast of Houston. And she said he wants to open small assisted livings. Will you come help us? So I went over to the southeast because Hassan and I were basically on the west and southwest,
Mhm.
northwest side of Houston. Went over there, and he and I opened five in
Wow.
that Pasadena, El Lago area.
Wow. Like how was it back then? Like how was marketing? Like, because I know here these days it's
So different. Oh my gosh. Now you got to realize this was 30 years ago. I didn't
yeah.
even own a cell phone yet.
Oh my goodness.
So we still carried pagers, but the marketing was so different because back then we would go to, I told everybody I can write policies, procedures, hire, train, love on the residents. I can do all this stuff, but I don't know how to market. I'm not going to market it. I'm not interested. And my partner came up and said, "Here's an industry lunch. I want you to go to it. You have to go to it." And I was standing in line to pay for my lunch, and the girl in front of me was talking to the girl behind me. And they finally looked at me and said, "You have no idea what you're doing, do you?" And I was like, "No, and I don't want to be here. I didn't have business cards, I had nothing."
Uh-huh.
I am still friends with those two girls.
That's
And
amazing.
they took me under their wings and taught me everything I needed to know. But back then, we would make friends with the social workers at the hospitals. And we used to be able to go up to their office on the floor without an invitation and sit around their office and have conversations and talk. And then we would go down to the nurses' station
Uh-huh.
and pull charts to see if there was anybody that we thought we could contact the families for.
They didn't care about HIPAA back then, I guess. Or me.
No, no such thing. No such thing was happening. So that was crazy times. And now y'all can't even get on the floors.
You
You
can't
have to
even get
sign
in.
up to take, you
Hmm.
can't get to the hospitals. And of course, now marketing and activities ended up being my two favorite parts with all my homes in Houston, the Bay Area, and then I went to Austin with another partner, and we opened, I don't know, six or seven houses
Wow.
in Austin. And we didn't have the competition that y'all have now.
Hmm.
I can throw a stick and there's going to be a small provider or even a large provider. The other difference was the big box facilities was also still a new industry.
Hmm.
And when they said that their residents couldn't use wheelchairs, couldn't need assistance with bathing or dressing or grooming, they had to be discharged. So where were they going
Wow.
to go? So now, the big box people, they kind of have a fill the beds with heads mentality. I can walk through any large facility in the state and find inappropriate placement. But back then, if somebody started needing a wheelchair to go to the dining room, they had to be discharged. So where are they going? They're going to me. So it
Wow.
was very easy. I had a wait list, all my facilities, always. It's not like that anymore.
Like how fast was it back then to like get licensed? Like was it less strict back then or
Oh
like
my gosh. So back then, type A facilities, which
yes,
means
type
you have to
A.
be able to evacuate in 13 minutes or less. We didn't need sprinklers,
Hmm.
none of that fire safety stuff. Our policy and procedures was about 10 pages. So people would call me and say, "Hey, Mary, my mom went to the hospital. She can't go back home. Can you take care of her?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll bring her." And they would just show up and I would take care of them.
Hmm.
Um, and so we didn't have the paperwork. We didn't have the rules and regulations. We didn't have, now there's a thing called financial penalties. I never had heard of that. That just didn't
Financial
happen.
penalties. Wow.
And now, the surveyors can come in on a complaint or on every 3 year visit and hit you with financial penalties with the right to correct. So what they're saying is that you still have to correct this, but you're getting a financial penalty. That was unheard of. So the cost of doing business, and the other thing I want to say about this is back then we got almost the same room rates that people are getting now.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
Now in El Lago, I had a big, huge room with 4 beds, and it was like 1,300, 1,500 per bed.
Okay.
But some of my houses in Austin were getting 5, 6, 7,000 a month
This was back then?
back then. So this
Wow.
would be 20 years ago.
Wow.
The difference is we paid our caregivers $8 an hour.
Hmm.
Y'all are having to pay caregivers $15 an hour.
Hmm.
Back then, I didn't have to put in sprinkler systems in my A's because I had A's and B's.
Hmm.
Y'all have to be sprinkled across the board now. Um, the cost of doing everything, as you know,
Hmm.
is so much higher now. And we made a much nicer profit. So 20, 25, 30 years ago, my break even was 3 residents.
Three residents. My
And
goodness.
now break even routinely is somewhere around 6 to 7 residents
Hmm. Hmm.
just to break even.
That's about right. That's about right. Yeah, that's true. Like I looked at one with a client over there in spring. It was licensed for like 14, I think.
Okay.
And then they currently had eight, but they were breaking even at eight. Like maybe like a little bit negative. Like
Yep.
I could tell they kind of mess with their numbers a little bit, but I was like, oh yeah, like eight probably even, nine probably make a little bit of profit. Like that's their situation. And I was like, man, they need to fill these up if they want if they want to sell at this price that they're wanting.
And spring's a tough market. I mean, I keep saying oversaturation, oversaturation, oversaturation.
Mm.
So when people call me now, because I'll get what, 2 to 10 calls a day. Mary, I want to open in Plano. Why?
Mhm.
Why would you do that?
Uh-huh.
Or Mary, I want to open in Spring, or I want to open in Austin. Why? Why would you do that? The market is so saturated. And then people say to me, yes, but the baby boomer generation, and there's all these people that are needing beds. Yes, that's very true. But because of the saturation of the market in Texas, for
Mhm.
every baby boomer that ages out, they can pick from 100 to 200 beds.
Mhm.
So that, yes, there's a lot of us aging out. I'm a baby boomer. I'm 66. Um, I can pick from hundreds of beds in any area. Sugarland, oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's a lot over here. I looked, yeah. There's
Yes.
there's actually I live in Missouri City and it's an interesting area. There's just along 1092, there's like two big facilities there.
Hmm.
Um and then 1092 kind of crosses this road called Cartwright, and like a
Yeah.
little bit down Cartwright, there's like another two big facilities over there. And this is within like I mean, I don't know how many miles, but they're really close, like 5 minutes away, I'd say, from each other.
Hmm.
So I don't know if they're sister companies or I don't know if because they're big box, their rules are a little bit different. But I was like, these guys are clumped together here. Like, we're not that,
Well,
you know.
there were always, the industry was born
Hmm.
because they were shutting down the state hospitals and the state facilities. I don't know if you know this or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they were doing that, they said, we are not going to allow more than six to a home
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise we're getting back into that facility hospital feel.
Okay. Okay.
6 beds has always been on the books,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody ever enforced that. The half-mile rule has always been on the books. And then there's another 3-mile rule. It's a different rule. Those have always been on the books. Nobody's ever looked at them. I've never heard of that,
Mm-hmm.
of people enforcing that. But now let's take Missouri City, where you
Yeah.
live. They super enforce that 6 bed rule. You cannot open with more than six unless you're a large facility meeting other criteria.
Mm-hmm.
Parts of Harris County, Dallas, the city of Dallas. Um, so there's all these cities now that are so inundated, and it's causing such a workload for the city. They started digging, and they were like, how can we slow down this influx? And
Uh,
they started Missouri City and Sugarland specifically is enforcing that half-mile rule.
that
So,
makes sense.
but the rule doesn't say as the crow flies or as you drive. So Fred Worley, he's been working with several houses that are saying the city says we're half a mile, we can't open. And Fred's trying to work with that. Is it as the crow flies or is it as you drive? So the cities are really pushing now that half-mile and 3-mile and 6 bed rules. You can't make money off six.
Yeah, that's too much. Unless you do it yourself, but then that's just another job, at that point. So,
Yeah. I tell you what, that Conroe area is so saturated. 2 facilities have closed just recently,
wow.
that I'm aware of because I don't hear every single thing. And they're building 3 more 16-bed homes in the North Conroe area.
Wow.
Why would you pick Conroe?
I know of one. Um, I know of one. I think it's in Conroe. It was a type A. It was like recently bought by like a friend of a friend. And I think they bought it with 10 residents, but after Barrel, like I think they had to close down just because the house got torn up. Like it was just a mess. So
Yeah.
I haven't reached out to him again, be like, hey, how are you doing? But I know Barrel like sh put him out of business technically. I mean,
Oh, yeah. And that happened. Well, anytime you have a natural disaster like that, people
Mhm.
will not be able to recover, and businesses won't be able to recover. And assisted living certainly is very subject to these natural disasters.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, in terms of if you had to pick like what area, I know we're saturated here in Texas, but if you had to pick, what would be an area that you would encourage people to go into? Because I've heard from other people, like there's a multi-family guy, John, his name is John, that I know he's like, oh, I have to expand into Fulshire because Fulshire is like a newer place. Like, how do you feel about that? Or like, what do you think is a place that is open right now that doesn't have much competition that you can start an assisted living facility in?
That's interesting. 5 years ago, before the pandemic, I was telling people
Oh, hold on a second.
go to Louisville, go to Flower Mound. Those are Northwest Dallas communities.
Hmm.
And so people did. And now I'm like, oh God, please don't go to Louisville and Flower Mound. I mean, it's so saturated. Uh, now I'm thinking that if you go that southwest of Houston, now I know about 10 or 15 that are opening,
Hmm.
but that's southwest of Houston. So there's a girl opening in Arcola. There's a
Okay.
girl opening in Needville. There's a girl opening in that Fulshire, well, several in Fulshire.
Mm.
And just up to 2 years ago, we were saying go to Richmond Rosenberg. That's where the
Wow.
money's going. Go to Richmond Rosenberg. People, please do not go to Richmond Rosenberg. Please don't go to Richmond Rosenberg. It is so full.
There,
But
there's
I
one for
think,
sale there. Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We said for a long while that San Antonio was pretty open still.
Mm.
But there's just been so many three-bed facilities opening there that that's kind of caused a little bit of a ruckus.
Okay.
There's still openings in West Texas. If anybody wants to go to far West Texas, there's still openings there. If anybody wants to go to the valley, down in the valley, there
Mm.
are homes opening, but there's still a need for in the valley. So, but if you're looking at Austin, Dallas,
The big
Houston,
cities.
Fort
Yeah.
Worth, why?
Ah, that that's
Why
that's
are you looking there?
that's some good insight. Like in terms of, so let's say I'm in Houston and I think like, oh yeah, let me open an ALF in the Valley. Like, do you recommend that for someone like like me, or because you're gonna be like a remote operator, like how would you recommend they run that? Like, and you're like, no, don't do it.
Let me tell you what I tell people multiple times a week.
Uh-huh.
This is not a hands-off business.
No, it's
This
not.
is not a remote business. This is not passive income. This is not a part-time owner. I'm going to be gone. This is not for you.
Hmm.
This is not for you. So I talk people out of, I would love to just take everybody's money. Of course I would, but that's not how I operate. 30 years in the industry, my reputation's pretty stellar, and I'd like to
Hmm.
keep it that way. If you don't have 100 to $175,000 ready,
Hmm.
you're probably going to fail.
Hmm.
If you don't have a partner, a husband, a spouse, an adult child, somebody who's going to help you, right now you're probably going to fail.
Hmm.
If you don't have experience, that's also probably not going to help you. And if you're not from Texas, let me tell you what.
Yes.
Texans, we're different. So you get the client and you keep the client because you're good, but the referral came from somebody you have a relationship with.
Hmm.
So you've got to be able to go and talk for 30 minutes about their husband's birthday party and the kids and school and the weather and the next hurricane, all of that before you can ask that one question. Do you have any referrals for me today? So you really need to be able to get into that part of the marketing
Hmm.
and be able to, and willing to go out there and make friends.
I took your marketing class, Miss Mary, and I was like, my goodness, this is what marketing really is. Like this is like a 40-hour a week job, it seems like. Like it's not just
At
run some
minimum.
ads, you know, it's like it's not just show up to a thing once a month and run some ads and that's marketing. Like my goodness, there's so much to it. I didn't realize that, you know.
So much to it.
Yeah.
And it's changed, of course. Back then we would go to networking events, which you still have to do.
Hmm.
We did print advertising back then, New Lifestyles, the Daily News, all those industry magazines,
Hmm.
which you should still do, but that's
Hmm.
not the bulk of it. Because we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have computers. We didn't have a lot of internet. I mean, it was different. So we did a lot of face to face and we did a lot of print and
Hmm.
a lot of community networking. And now, if you don't have a great website, if you
Exactly.
don't have a great local SEO, if you don't have a great Facebook page with great postings, if you're not doing email blasts, if you're not doing all those things, then I probably can't help you succeed.
Mm. It's a lot. There's a lot to it for sure.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah, like
But do people succeed, Carl? Every day.
Mhm.
Every day, people are succeeding. I have a girl who opened in Richmond, Rosenberg a year ago. She's now opening her second facility in Needville
That's excellent.
within a year. Uh, do people succeed? Every day,
Hmm.
but they're working. They're
Yeah,
working it.
yeah. Like so, as a consultant, like what would you say is a common challenge that you encounter that people face, and then is there a solution for that?
Common challenge. A common challenge. I think one of our biggest challenges that people still had, that I had, was working with our surveyors.
Hmm.
So that's a challenge. What people don't realize is like life safety. That if they come out and they find 10 things, because they're going to find 10 things, and you fix those and they come back out again, they can find 10 more things. And then you fix those and they come back again, and now they found three things. And this can go on for an extended period of time. So, one of the things that we have found is that if you are getting ready to have your fourth life safety visit,
Hmm.
it's better, cheaper for sure, to pull your application from the state,
Okay.
make all the changes, and then reapply. Because once you get up to your fourth life safety inspection, they start charging you. And it costs more for that than it does to pull your application and reapply with those fees.
Wow. That is well, number one, like four times to come out. That's a lot. I didn't
It's
realize.
very common now.
Oh man.
Very common now.
Oh wow. Yeah, luckily, the one of my good friends, the one with 100 something beds, um, I think they came out twice already. So, but I mean, they have a lot of stuff. Like it's a
Yeah.
lot of beds. Yeah. So,
That's a big facility there.
mm,
And I don't really fault the owners because the owners don't know life safety.
mm,
That's thousands and thousands of pages that they have to follow.
mm,
You can always hire really great consultants like Fred Worley,
mm,
who was with the state for 30 years and now he does consulting for small facilities. You
mm.
can hire people like Fred, and Fred can come out and give you this long list of things that have to be done. But if your sprinkler system people don't follow every single rule, no matter what Fred said to you and no matter what you've done, if they don't do their part, um, then you're going to fail.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I know like sometimes there's like different sizes to sprinklers I didn't know about, and sometimes they put in one size and it's supposed to be another. I was like, wow, I thought it was all just like
No,
one, as long as there's water coming out. Like I thought that was it.
no, no. And they're really looking at things right now like, okay, generators.
Uh-huh.
So generators are not required, and it's not even in that 300-page document that they sent to us with all the new changes coming for 2024, 2025.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. Generators was not in there. I'm very surprised, but everybody needs to get ready, and they should have a generator now anyway. The
Mhm.
families love it. It's a great marketing tool. It's great for your caregivers if you ever lose energy or power. But if you put a generator, even though it's not required by the state to have it, the state does have rules about it.
Huh.
So
So more rules with more stuff. That's excellent.
more rules and more stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
well, that's it comes to, I'm assuming it's coming from a good place at least. They're just trying to make sure that hopefully no one is being put in danger, and like everyone comes out from a natural disaster in one piece. So that's what I'm assuming they're being so strict about it.
Well, in the history, back in the day, we were called personal care homes. That's what our license said.
Hmm.
And like I said, the A's did not have to be sprinkled.
Hmm.
There were fires and people died.
Yeah.
So they changed our names from personal care homes to residential assisted livings. And that was when we all had to start getting sprinkled, which is a good thing.
Mm,
And then it went from a residential care home to now our license says assisted living type A small, assisted living type B small. So
yes.
now we are actually assisted living. So they've kind of bulked us all in together. And the reason they've done this is so that they can put us for stricter rules and regulations for the safety of the residents.
Hmm. I mean, for me, I got into this to, anticipate my parents eventually needing one. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I would love a personal nurse or something to take care of them, but I anticipate I won't have that much money to pay for them every day. So I was like, okay, I need to think of something else. But, you know, for anyone that's hearing this, you know, I I'm really thankful that you're giving the real talk, like the real challenges, how it really is. Um, and with everything in goals, if you really truly believe in your goal of taking care of people and making a difference, I think this is assisted living is it. Like it's hard, but this is it. But if you're just trying to make extra passive income money, I am gonna tell you, and I agree with everyone that tells you, like, don't do it. You can make money easier somewhere else
Yes.
with less headaches and less people. Like, you know.
Yes, exactly, with less headaches. I mean, if you as the owner, let's say somebody falls and has goes to the ER in the middle of the night and they're
Hmm.
critical,
Hmm.
who's going to go deal with that?
Hmm.
You are. You're
Yeah.
going to get up out of your bed and you're going to go deal with that. Let's say a surveyor shows up on a complaint at 10 o'clock at night. Who's going to go deal with that? You are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very time consuming and you have to be prepared to do that. And I've had people call me and say, oh, I'm going to hire a manager to deal with all that. With your business, you're going to let somebody else do that with your business? Yeah.
It's going to be run a little differently. When it's yours versus someone running someone else's business,
Mhm.
it's really different. Yeah.
It's really now you can have a manager. Of course, you can have a manager, and many do. In
Mm-hmm.
the small 16 bed or less, most managers are the owner.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have like Nate Manthe, he's got 5 buildings, so he has managers
Mm-hmm.
because he has to. That's a rule. So, of course, his managers run the day-to-day operation of his houses. Of course, they do. But if something big comes up, that's on Nate and Tiffany, and they have to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was pretty impressed. I need to ask him about that another time. Like he has some kind of like tier system or something for his
Hmm.
people to kind of go up. And I was like, that's good to promote like, hard work and a little loyalty. So
Yeah, he likes to promote from within.
mhm. That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much
You're
for your
welcome.
honesty. Let's say someone wanted to work with you. What is the best place to reach you? What is the best way to find you?
Oh, people can call me. They can text me. My phone number is 972-375-2277.
And I can share that in the video,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
Okay.
sure. And my email is gilcrm@yahoo.com. I do not have a website. Please don't do what I do. Do what I tell you to do. I've done this 30 years. Everybody knows me, so I don't have a website anymore. I'm not paying for those big business emails anymore. I
Mhm.
do have a Facebook page. I'm rarely ever on it. But you can always email me. I check my emails frequently.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and
Okay.
I hope to bring you some more people that are the right fit for you as well.